Welcome to Unraveling the Brain. I'm your host, Dr. Josh Mattson. Today, we have an absolutely awesome story of a journey of a young girl through autism. And it's really her story of finding her voice. It's her story of being able to regulate for the first time. And it's being told by the mother. Her and Dr. Ashley just talked through her experience here in the office and how things have changed for them at home and how her daughter has started to be able to express herself and show who she really is and show what's on the inside, which is so cool to see with so many of these kids we see with autism. But it's a really cool story. So if you have some time here, take a chat to listen. You will not be sorry you did.
Well, I'm just going to kind of just start off of it just being really conversational. And first, I just want to thank you for agreeing to kind of share your daughter's story and just kind of the things that you guys have overcome and the things that you still are overcoming.
Yeah.
But if you wouldn't mind just kind of sharing Emily's story and talking a little bit about that.
I mean, it's a big one, so where to start? I'll start with like our first visit here. So this is our second round of intensives. And we came back in May, so like 5 months ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember Emily at that time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She could, like, one of the biggest things that she could not have eyes on me the whole time. She was so frightened, like, of everything, to the point where I remember Dr. Tanner coming out and he was like, we'll just take her back now. And I was like,
Nope.
I know you do this for other kids. I'm like, not my kid. And he was like, no, she'll be fine. I was like, no, I'm coming back. Because she was in such a state of like heightened stress with moving from one room to the other or like going in to have breakfast, getting out of the car. Just the smallest of things were just, I don't know, so frightening for her. And that's really hard to explain until I heard some of like Dr. Josh's stuff and I'm like, he gets it. Okay, he gets this. And so the first couple of weeks was just like easing her in to that. Because I think what happens when you have a child who is in such a state of stress, as the parent, and I've chatted with a lot of your parents out here, they are also in that state of stress. Like, even if you don't know it, like, you can't not be, because with your child, you're feeding off each other the whole time.
Yeah.
So even though everyone wants you to calm your nervous system down, you've got a child whose nervous system is like shot. Like, they can't calm themselves down. And so you're on edge the whole time with what's going to happen. Is that door opening going to set her off? So there's a kid crying. There's I don't know, someone loud on the phone.
Yeah.
And it was really affecting her day-to-day life. Like, autism is a lot of things to different children. But for her, it's not really a gift, like, right now. It prevents her, like, doing a lot of things. I'll try not to get upset about it, but it does stop her from partaking in a lot of things. So when we came here, like, I didn't even have a set goal. I was just like, let's just make this better. Yeah. Like, can we just make her less stressed? And then maybe I'll be less stressed. And we did. We totally did. And like, by the end of our first set of intensives, those 3 weeks, I went to Vancouver to see my sister. And she was like, she is like a different child in the best way. She's just like, she was running up to my sister. And a year before, she didn't even acknowledge my sister.
Yeah.
And that was like heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Emily was just in her own world that we couldn't get to. And she was like running up to my sister and getting her to play. And I got these videos of like, my sister's face is just like so excited, but so surprised.
Yeah.
And I'm messaging my other sister who lives in Singapore, and she was like, what did they do? What did they do? And I'm like, I don't know where to start. There's just so much stuff that they do. Because I'd been with my other sister in Singapore the few months before, and she had really like observed that behavior and observed that just like how limited Amelie's life was through that fear. And that is how she lived her day to day, which is like not a very nice way to live.
No. Yeah.
And it's really not a nice way to see your child live when like this is such a cool age where everything is like fun and exciting.
You want to
and
enjoy these good years.
And it's like, let's lock these years in of fun and learning. But if your child is so stuck in this state, they can't learn. And that's like the big connect that I think a lot of people don't see.
And you guys did a lot of other therapies, right?
Coming? Like, I mean, by day 6 I realized that Amelie ticked so many boxes with autism. So even before her diagnosis, I'd like booked in all of our speech therapy. I'd looked at this. I stayed up reading until my eyes were like dry.
Yeah.
Like everything I could find.
Yeah.
So we had done a lot of stuff, and I think there's two things. Like if you can't connect to a child, if you can't find a way in, your therapy may not really work.
Yeah.
Because if your play therapy, OT, music therapy, whatever it is you want to do, if you can't get into that child's world, how are you going to do it? Like, I know all the exercises. I know you want to build this strength. I know you want to do this, but how can you get her to climb the ladder with hands and feet if you can't get her attention?
Yep.
So we're like, you're miles ahead trying to do that. And how can you do that if you can't get the child through the door of the clinic that you're trying to go to?
Yeah.
Because she's too frightened to go into an unknown environment, or she'll spend 20 minutes crying on the floor. So like your two big barriers can't get you in the building. Therapists can't get their attention.
Yeah.
So I'm spending like a lot of money and a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I'm there trying to be the therapist too, because I'm like,
oh, I know.
This session costs a lot. Like, I want to get the most out of this to help you. Because also, I don't know what else to do if I don't do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had tried a lot of stuff, but admittedly, a lot of things I was doing was around her speech, because is where I felt like she needed the most help. And I thought, right, if we get speech or communication in any form, everything else would be cool. But no.
It doesn't really work like that.
No. So, because there's so many other things. Like, I didn't really clock that it was her nervous system, that it's this, it's diet, it's whatever else going on. So I wasn't really addressing them that much.
Yeah.
And I definitely didn't know about, until I started researching a lot more, energy production and what's going into her body and what's
doing all this, the mitochondria,
all this other stuff. There's a lot of rabbit holes that you're going to go down. So,
yeah, that is.
We only have so much capacity at the same time. So, like the way things were before were really limiting, not just to Amelie, but to me.
Absolutely.
Like, as the parent, and this is a lot of parent caregivers, that their child is stuck, but they are stuck because we don't go to clubs.
Yeah.
We don't go to gymnastics or music club, whatever. I mean, a lot of kids might, but a lot of kids don't because, again, the sensory issues. We can't get in the door. We won't put any clothes on. We won't. I can't deal with the fact there may be other children. Like, we were at the point 5 months ago where we couldn't even go to play parks because she was so sensitive that there could be a kid that like touched her or screamed or like pulled her hair, and the stimuli was so unpredictable that she would just be like, no, we're not going in. So what do you do? What do you do every day when and I was not giving in to the screen time. Like that was not going to be my kid. Like I didn't want that to be her trajectory, is like well, we just watch a lot of TV.
Yeah. To just
I
kind
like
of
TV.
numb it.
I like
and-
TV.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But that was it. It was like, okay, it would regulate her,
Mhm.
but did it open up her world anymore?
Mhm.
And did it make it harder for me to get in?
Mhm. Yeah.
So, and I think it does, because that's so exciting. And that, like, the dopamine hit from all your TV is
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I can't trump that.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
I can't be that fun.
Mm-mm.
I can try, but it's like it's a tough gig competing with YouTube.
Yes.
So that's where we were. Sorry, that's where we were at the beginning, was that we couldn't go to play parks, we couldn't go to clubs. She wouldn't acknowledge like her cousins.
Yeah, I remember you
Like-
talking about that a lot.
That's so brutal. And I know, like, a lot of people will say that's just how they are, but she couldn't acknowledge them or be aware of them because it was so much overload.
Yeah.
So, and I just, in my heart, like, didn't believe that that was the case. I didn't believe that a child just doesn't want to connect with any other child or adult. And yeah, it was a tough gig, like, every day. Like, the anxiety of, are we going to get out of the house today?
Yeah.
Or are we just not going to try because it's too stressful for all of us?
Yeah.
And then, so we did 3 weeks here
Mhm.
and went to Vancouver. I was like, this is a
Awesome.
breeze. Oh my God. Is this what like regular parenting is like? I'm like, dude, this is all right.
Yeah. I can do this.
Yeah, like I could breathe.
Mm-hmm.
I could just take a minute and breathe. And then, like, those changes just kept carrying on over time. And we carried on our work.
Yeah.
We are
You guys are dedicated
laser
too.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Love the laser. We do our HBOT at home. And this was a big thing for her. Every time we came out, she started babbling and she'd point at colors. And I emailed you and I was like, it's the HBOT.
Yeah.
And you were like, yep, cool.
Yep.
Keep doing it. And things just kept evolving. And I think once she came out of that state, her learning could start to happen really organically.
Oh yeah, her world just went
It was
from
like,
this,
yes,
and just
it
opened
was-
up completely.
I don't know if you like the beginning, she would just be, she was
Attached
still
to you the whole
breastfeeding.
time.
She would just, like, her eyes were like darting around.
Yeah.
Because she was, the only place she was safe was here. Like, instinctually. It was
Yeah.
like, mum, safe. Everyone
Absolutely.
else, not
Yeah.
safe. Unless maybe you got the swing out. She was like, okay, cool.
Maybe,
Okay,
yeah.
fine. I'll indulge you.
Yeah.
So it just kept opening up. And I remember doing, like, videoing lots of little things because her play started to change. And I didn't want to go in with any expectations. Like, I didn't want to say, we're going to go to Iowa. Everyone's asking me, like, where's Iowa? You mean Idaho? And I'm like, no, it's Iowa.
Iowa, yeah.
Yeah, we don't know many places apart from, like, the coast. I didn't expect to come here for 3 weeks and she would walk out and respond to everything, be completely chill. Like, I wanted to manage expectations, and I know no one can tell you what changes you will see in your child. Because every child's going to respond so differently, and it's going to be their path. But I wanted to document lots of little things, and her play started to change. She was like interested in toys, which for a lot of parents find that really hard as well. That there's no playing,
Yeah.
no playing the way you expect it, I guess. It's very isolated play. But she was actually interested in toys and like putting puzzle pieces, like trying them up. But she was curious. And before, she was so consumed by her state of like stress, she couldn't. Everything was just, there was no joy in it. She was just stressed. Yeah, because her nervous system was just all over the place. Yeah. So that really evolved over time. And then when everything else calmed down with her, like what was going on in her body, and we're lasering and we're H-podding and we're doing hardcore on the diet.
Yeah.
Like hardcore. Because I don't like, you can do a lot of laser and a lot of H-pod and a lot of vagal stim, but you've got to stop whatever's creating that inflammation. So we're doing all those things, and I see her world just opening up like every day, and she's making more connections and she's more curious. And then it got to the point where my husband would go and do H-pod with her, and she'd just toodle off.
Yeah.
Like,
See you, Mom.
barely even look back at me. Like, wasn't interest, just like, I'm going in the tent. And I was like, we have to stop and just take a minute here, because 6 months ago, I had to sneak out, like the house, like to go to the bathroom. And if she found me in the bathroom, like, that was awful because I don't know if I remember telling you, but like, I got to the point where I'd just not really drink in the day because she hated coming to the bathroom so much. Yeah. She would hit her head against the wall. She would bite me. She was angry about that. And again, this is something how do you explain that to other parents? Like, oh, by the way, I stopped drinking water most days because she'll start hitting her head against the wall if I go to the bathroom. Yeah. Even if she's with me. It's not like I'm not there.
Yeah.
And she wasn't doing it. She'd just be like, come on, let's go. Come on, let's go and go outside or whatever. Yeah. So her confidence grew so much. And I put that down to her being able to come out of like that primitive state of like
survival.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that first few months of life, like, what's happening? She was able to just be alert to the world. Yeah. And there's just like, you don't know if that's ever going to happen with your kid. And that's a hard like thing to swallow if that doesn't. And we keep trying. So, I mean, we booked our second lot here to come here when we were at this visit in May, because I know that we can do a lot at home and we will, and we do that. But you guys know how to push her you can read her and go, okay, she's ready for this now. We can try this. We can try pushing this boundary in a way that is progressing her. Whereas then I'm just doing like the list of stuff. Yeah. And again, the changes have been amazing. Yeah. Like some of the sensitivities were like creeping in. She went through a stage of not really wanting to leave the house, and sleep sometimes being a real challenge. But I hadn't perfected the diet until like maybe a couple of months ago. So that was a part of it as well. And the other day she just started singing Twinkle Twinkle, not just the first bit, like the second verse. Yeah. And my husband walked in off a call and he was like, well, I guess we're going to live in Des Moines then. He was like, okay, because this is big stuff.
This is changing her life.
This is changing her whole trajectory. And as a parent in the autism world, you don't know what help. You don't know what there is that's going to help your kid. There's lots of people saying lots of things.
There are, yeah.
Or on the other end, like in the UK, unfortunately, there's just not that much help.
Yeah.
So you're really like in this really fuzzy place of, I don't know what I need to do, but I know I need to do something.
Yeah. And you found us just online, right?
I mean, your algorithm, like Dylan, right?
Yeah.
Is it Dylan?
Dylan, yeah.
I mean, he's genius. Like, I think you guys are amazing. I'm like, but does he get the gold star? Because it's the marketing, right?
Yeah.
It's the marketing.
I mean, our videos, you saw them and you're
them.
like, I'm just going to give this a shot. And
well, we watched an interview. It was last Christmas with, because I'd seen bits about primitive reflex therapy, and I was like, what is that? It's not a known thing in the UK. Neither is functional neurology. And I kind of got like, that's not a thing. We don't do that. you know, but also the same doctor that told me to put gluten back in her diet. So like, I'm like, okay, one doctor says this, but I can, as the parent, I get to choose.
Yeah. And I see it makes a difference.
Yep. Huge differences. Yeah, I found you by watching, it was an interview, sorry, that Dr. Josh did with another podcast. I can't remember who.
Yeah.
And we watched it, and my husband was like, I trust him. Let's go. And I'm like, okay, you phone them. And then the wait list was like 5 or 6 months. And I'm like, oh God. Right, we'll take the first spot and we're going to come for this many weeks. And we were so excited because we were doing all of the speech stuff and all of the diet, but we just weren't really getting much else.
Yeah.
And I know that the time is really important with children. Like, yes, getting in early, and yes, neuroplasticity is possible at any age, but to be most effective,
the earlier you start, the better.
Yes. Yeah. And I needed to know, like, what can I be doing? I am with her 24 hours a day. So I think as parents, we underestimate how much we can be their therapy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We might not always want to be all of the time because we have other jobs.
Yeah, you want to take that hat off sometimes.
Sometimes you got to take the hat off and be like, I need to just chill out and be mum. But we can take all of the stuff that we're learning. And that's why I'm always asking you questions. What does this do? And what about this in the brain? Because we have the most power to then take that and integrate that into their everyday routine. And all of her speech has been the same. And it's been the most effective because she trusts us the most. She's most comfortable with us. We know her. You know your child. You know every little thing that is going to trigger them or calm them down. And you get to be the biggest, you know, player in like what trajectory they're going to go on.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, sorry.
No, you're okay. Yeah, especially from our perspective, even seeing her come back. I mean, for those of, for people listening right now, your daughter's doing therapy right now, and you're in here.
I'm free. Like, I don't have a person crawling on me. Like,
and that's huge.
It's huge. Like, I remember you seeing me in reception a few weeks ago, and you're like, well, look at you.
Yeah.
And it's funny because my husband's like, I think I will suit you, you know. I'm like, yeah, I have time. I have like just space to not be in charge for just a little bit.
Yep.
And I know that I know that she is so safe and happy and
loved and cared for and by everyone in this office. I don't trust
many people with my child, like my siblings, but she has to take time to like warm up to them. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Like there is no one else that I feel like can read her and be flexible enough with her in that sense. And you guys have got such a beautiful way of just bringing the calm. And you must see parents all the time just coming in and they're frantic because, you know, we've had a day before the office is even open.
Yeah.
And we just want for a second to hand over your kid and say, you, like,
help, please.
Because you bring her calm, you bring me calm. And that's like the best gift that you can bring a parent. And she's happy doing it.
Yeah.
Like she's so happy. She comes out and she says, Mummy. And then she'll just go straight to play. Yeah. Like she's not running to me and be like, why did you leave me?
Yes. Yeah.
Which is a big thing. She's not like punishing me for you know, sitting out the front. Or she just has fun
leaving her
back there. Yeah. And she knows the drill. So that's a huge thing because as a parent of a child with autism and probably other diagnoses as well, you are not just parenting, you are hypervigilant. And I've had this conversation with a few parents because you turn your back for 1 second and your kid's like up on your counter
Or out the door. Or...
Yeah, like their sensory seeking is going on all the time, and they'll run really fast and they'll disappear. And so you have to be eyes on them all of the time. And it always surprises me when I guess hang out and I get to go and see friends and their children who don't have maybe the same challenges. They don't worry about their kid doing this really random stuff and just like disappearing. They don't have that same like sense of what's going to go on. And, you know, they can maybe call their kid's name and the child will hear them. I don't have that.
Yeah.
I do have that more now. Like she is responding so much that we're still surprised, even though we shouldn't be.
Yeah.
We're like, oh my God, she looked round and she came up for a bath and she just got on with it. And she's just like, just there. Like, how do I describe it? It's less foggy, more
aware of her
clear,
surroundings.
aware and not frightened of them.
Yeah.
So she's having a great time with Christine now. Yeah, playing. She wasn't even bothered when I walked out. She was there watching her fishes, having a great time. And that means so much as the parent who never found any kind of daycare that she'll settle into.
Yeah.
There certainly won't be a school that right now that she's going to fit into. So to find the people who can help be your village, who aren't just minding her, who are like helping her progress, is like gold.
Yeah.
That's why we're like, how long can we stay? What can we do? Yeah. So the changes are amazing. And I feel like so often parents like me are looking for words like, okay, what does she say now? And how is her speech? We all want to know about the speech. But there are so many things underneath that are worthy of being recognized and valued. Like, I can get her into her buggy, her stroller, and she doesn't thrash her head back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a win.
That's a huge win because now I feel like I can get out of the house before I can get out of the house. And I can walk down the street and I'm not panicking that we're only going to get like to the next road and then have to go back. Yeah. So your confidence grows because you think, right, she can actually sit still.
Yeah.
Like her focus and attention, just like now wanting to sit in her high chair to eat and choosing to eat and not be like, not screaming like she used to scream if there was something on her plate that she didn't want, just run away screaming. Yeah. And she touches her food now and feeds herself and she wants to sit at the table and she can sit there for 20, 30 minutes. Not because I'm making her, because she's chilled. Yeah. So her focus, you know, a lot of people say, what does the 3-year-old need to focus on? Well, there's actually a lot. Yeah. But the ability to, you know, let me get her dressed. Sit with me, do this, maybe read a book instead of just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Yeah. And these change your whole day, the whole day. So I would really urge parents to look further than the speech. I know we all want speech. Yeah. Of course we do. Yeah. But one, they're probably already communicating in some way. We just have to look for it. And two, like there are just so many other parts to your child's development that you can acknowledge. Yeah. And like, you know, Dr. Josh would say, like, these are the foundations so that eventually maybe
you can build on them.
Yeah. You can go to a restaurant, might not eat the food anymore, but I can go there with confidence that she's not going to have a huge meltdown that I can't get her out of. Because that was the other thing, like her meltdowns, they're not just tantrums and they're not like typical. They are very distressing to watch. They were. And she often just couldn't get out of it, like out of that state. And what do you do as a parent? Like not even when the TV works. The TV doesn't help. That's like my last resort. And even like the good stuff is not
The good stuff.
delivering
Yeah.
here to calm her down. And that's not just me saying I want her to stop. I need her to stop for her.
Yeah.
I need that meltdown to stop so she's not so stressed. And sometimes they would last for hours.
Yeah.
Like her record was 26 hours of screaming.
Yeah.
And then dozing, screaming and dozing. And that hasn't happened since, our first visit.
And to build on that, that speech component, that was her way of communicating, was
Yes.
screaming. And that was the only thing that she could do to tell you that, hey, something's not right.
Something is so off here, Mum. You need to help me. As a parent, like to feel helpless in that situation is awful. Like I had nothing else. I didn't know what else she needed, but she was stuck in that loop.
Yeah.
For so long. So she was communicating and I was listening a lot. But I think her ability to regulate herself has just gone up so much. And not through force, not through, I'm not going to help you here. Just, she takes that deep breath and
Her tolerance, her level.
Yeah. And I'm always there. I'm always there to like give a cuddle or do this, whatever, stay back, come near you, whatever it is you want. But when a kid's stuck in that just feedback loop of they don't even know what it is.
Yeah. No matter what you do.
No one knows what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, thankfully that part for her, I think has definitely moved on. And all of these things, like I just know it's lots of things working synergistically. It's a diet, it's bringing the inflammation down, it's our laser, it's our HBOT, it's her reflexes being so much better, like so much more integrated. Like it's all of the things.
Yeah. So if you had to give advice to parents out there of what it's like to be in our office, why you guys came and traveled back from the UK a second time, what would you tell parents as far as like what to expect when they come into the office?
The most awesome thing about coming here is that no matter what like state of your like stress your child is in, there is no judgment whatsoever. Because here's the panic as well. It's like, I'm going to go and do this therapy, but my kid's going to be like the worst behaved. I'm not going to be able to get them in the door. And I've just seen so many kids and families coming
for
this door.
a few weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sitting there. I've been here for a long time.
Yeah.
And there is just nothing that you guys can't handle. There's nothing I think that you don't just take on and be like, we got it. And that attitude immediately makes the parents feel calm. Not like, sorry, we can't help you. This is beyond help, because a lot of us are very desperate for help in some way. So there is no judgment at all. There is nothing you guys can't handle. And I have seen like some comments of people saying, well, what if my child's non-compliant in the therapy? I think, I've not seen one kid come in here who you haven't been able to
break down those walls. And there's a trust, right?
For sure.
Yeah, like anything.
This is a new person. What do you want from me? How are we going to work together? I don't want to work with you. Yeah. But you've got tools. Like, I don't know how you do it. You're just so calm that even if a child's coming in and they're in a real state of stress, I walk down the corridor 10 minutes later and they're just lying there, chilled out on one of you. I'm like, how did you do that? And the parents are thinking, how did they do it?
Yeah.
So bringing that sense of calm and just knowing that your kid is in such great hands, not just to be looked after for an hour or two, but you are going to go and work on them. You're going to meet them where they are and not try and run before they can walk. And that's so important as well. And it's the best thing I think you can invest in. Yeah. And I think I wish more parents knew about this earlier on in the journey, not, coming here last.
Yeah.
Which some people do.
Yeah.
Maybe because they don't find you or they don't know this or whatever the reason is, because you can make so much difference if you work on the foundations.
Yeah.
And this is about the long term for your kid. It's not just, can we get them ready for school in September? It's like their life trajectory, the long goal. So yeah, whatever your nerves are, you can just leave them at the door, because anything goes here. And that is a huge plus, because, a lot of us, we've traveled really far, and I've met families from all over, and we're like, please let this work out, because you've put a lot on it, whether it's financially or time, or taking time away from work or from other children. You're resting a lot on this visit. And I've not seen one kid by the end of a week or two, or however long they stay, not make huge progress.
Yeah.
And, a lot of our kids have been in therapies for years. Yeah. And this isn't to, slander any other therapy at all. It's just a lot of our kids need that intensive work to break down that barrier, figure out what's going on, what are the biggest barriers to learning or regulating, so that the other things can happen. And yeah, the foundations, they got to be worked on first. Yeah, that's what I'd say. And maybe it's really cold here from December, so
avoid coming around this time.
It started to flurry today, and all this trip I'm like, I really hope we see snow. And then this morning it flurried and it was so cold, so I was like, oh god, I don't know if I can do winter here. It feels really harsh. But the summers are great, so
come in the summer.
Yeah, but you will get the best care here for sure. There's nothing you guys can't handle.
Well, that is so kind. I just appreciate you today taking the time to share your story, share Amelie's story.
Sorry, I was so nervous.
Oh, you were not nervous at all.
It's just good for everything you do. Truly, it's I'm amazed at all the different expertise you have here, and I love that. It's not just you all know the same stuff. You've all got a specialty as well. So I love that there's different people working with our kids, because then I get to ask different things, and you're bringing a different perspective.
Absolutely.
And the meeting of all that is amazing, to see that all working and get a different point of view. So I will keep spreading your message. Yeah. And I hope more parents, I'm just waiting for you guys to come to the UK and just set up there. It's not as snowy. And because you have a lot of people, I'm sure. Yeah. But thank you.
Thank you so much
for everything.
Right.
Okay. Sorry, I was so nervous. I don't know why.
No, you were perfect. It's just
I hope I didn't blabber on too much.
No, it was perfect. Just having other people hear your story and kind of know what you've been through, and if your story can connect with another mom or another family that is going through the same thing, that's the whole goal of why we do this, right?
Yeah.
Is so that people can hear, hey, my kid might be in the same boat as...
My kid doesn't go in the car. My kid doesn't wear shoes. My kid doesn't do this. It's oh, and she's really upset about that because it's really hard.
Yeah.
That's what I look for. And then when I saw Dylan's son's story, I was like, that's it. I want to see a kid that's like mine, who's progressing and happier.
Yeah.
That's actually I don't need to see him reciting Shakespeare. I just want to see that kid's happier and getting on in life, whatever that is. So yeah, thank you.
Oh, of course.
Just love this fancy room. So snazzy.